Hi, now that you know how to create a file and save it, whether you're on a Mac or a Windows PC, and that you know how to execute that file in your web browser, and you know how to validate that everything is working, let's find out about some useful HTML tags. So instead of just copying an example that I gave you, you can create your own web pages that have the stuff that you want on them. So let's get going with that. Hypertext markup language, marks up text that you want to display. So let's say you had a bunch of text, you had a paragraph of text that you wanted to put there, and you wanted to decorate some of that text. You wanted to make some of it bold, or you wanted to make some of it italic, and so on. Here are some tags that you can use. If you put strong and the end strong, /strong tag around some text, whatever text is in between these is rendered as something bold-faced, usually. All that the browsers are required to do is make it look stronger than the normal text. Almost every browser, every one that I know of actually, turns this into boldface. You can also use /b and the tag b and /b instead of strong and /strong. I usually use these because I can remember what they mean. The wizards at the World Wide Web Consortium prefer that you use this. I don't know why. I'm sticking with the B's. EM and /EM is for emphasized text, which is usually rendered as italicized text, putting something in italics. But you can use I and /I for italics. That one's easier to remember. That's the one I usually use. And there's U and /U for underlined text. So here's an example. This is a complete HTML file, so we start with our doc type. Then we have HTML, end HTML, head, end head, and I put a title in there called Decorating Text Example. Then I've got my body that goes from here down to here. I've got one paragraph, two paragraphs, three paragraphs. So what's the text in here? I just love using the strong tag or the B tag to make boldface text. Notice the word strong tag is in between strong and /strong. B tag is in between the B and the /B. In the next one, I've got the EM tag and the I tag and the U and the /U. And here I've done bold, italic, underline. Then you have to be careful. You end from the inside out. End the underlined, end the italic, and the bold. So what does this look like? I just love using the strong tag or the B tag to make boldface text. And I could also use the M tag or the I tag to get italics and the U tag to underline text. Of course, you could go wild, put them all together. Bold, underlined, and italic. Now, HTML has a series of 6 heading levels, and they're denoted with tags H1/H1, H2/H2, all the way up through H6/H6, that your browser renders in a standard fashion. Font type, the font size, whether it's boldface, whether it's centered, and so on. That means that when you want to have a heading on part of your page, maybe you've got several paragraphs and you're calling something introduction and method and conclusion, and you want to have a heading for all of them, maybe you're going to make them all H1 headers, and you don't have to decide what's the font type, what's the size, and so on. You can just make something that's standard across everybody's web page. Now, you'd use these that way to get a standard look and feel across multiple websites. So, here's an example. Again, this is a complete HTML file. Starts with the doc type, has HTML, end HTML, head, end head, body, end body, and I've just put in an example of all 6 headers. Now, I don't know about you. I usually don't have headers 6 deep in a document that I'm putting together. That's way too complicated. Usually I'll use maybe the H1 and the H3 or the H1 and the H2 on a page. That's up to you. This is what they look like. This is H1, this is H2, this is H3, this is H4, this is H5, this is H6. So if you wanted to have something that looked like this, put it in between an H1 and a /H1 tag. Now, you've already used the P and the /P tag for paragraphs. Paragraphs are text that are separated from each other in your browser by some white space. The text wraps according to the width of the screen. It doesn't wrap according to how you hit the Enter key when you were typing it in Notepad or TextEdit. It will take the entire width of the screen and wrap when it doesn't have room for a word. And then it'll put a little bit of white space in between one paragraph and the next. Now you can force a line break within a paragraph by inserting the break, the BR tag, right before whatever word you want to have show up on a different line. Note, there isn't any /BR. There's no end BR tag. This just says, give me a break. The line break occurs within the same paragraph. You're still in the same paragraph. There's no extra white space before or after the break. It just starts on a new line, even if it didn't have to because of running into the margin. So let's see that. Here's an example, complete HTML file. Doc type, HTML, HTML, head, end head, body, end body. What have I done here? I've got a main heading and a subheading A, and I used H1 and H3 for that. Under subheading A, I put here is paragraph 1, here is paragraph 2. Under subheading B, there's only one paragraph under subheading B, but it is, and then I said, put a break in before the word broken up, and then put another one before the word into. So let's see what that looks like. Here is paragraph 1 under subheading A. Here is paragraph 2 under subheading A. Notice in between each of these paragraphs, the browser put a little bit of space. So one paragraph started, a little bit of space, another paragraph started. One paragraph started, no extra little space. This is all one paragraph. But even though there would have been room to put the word broken over here, and there would have been room to put the word into here, we said put a break before the word broken, put a break before the word into. So we get broken starting on a new line, into starting on a new line. Hypertext markup language. What is it that the hyper stands for? Well, hyperlinks. Links from one part of a document to another part of the document or to another document altogether. And we use the /A tag to hyperlink to another location. The syntax is /A, and inside the tag, this is the first time we've done it, we've got an attribute called href. That's the hyperlink reference. Equals, and then inside quotation marks, we put whatever the URL is to where we're going. This could be something like http://globalonlineacademy.org. It could be another web page that you've created. Maybe you've got a file called myfavoritepony.html. Then you'd put href quote myfavoritepony.html instead of putting in HTTP. Whatever you can get a URL for, you can put as the href. Then, whatever text you want to have highlighted, so that if you click on anything in here, from where the A tag and the /A tag are, that is the active hyperlink area. So let's see an example of this. Complete example, doc type, heading, body. In the body, I've got one paragraph, and it says, click, here's an A tag going to the globalonlineacademy.org, here, and the A tag. So the word here is going to be my hyperlink to go to the GOA website. Let's see what that one looks like. Click here to go to the GOA website. And if I clicked on this word here, notice my browser makes all active hyperlinks look like a different color and with an underline, so I know this is something if I clicked on it, it would go to the GOA website. Now, you can link to a location on the same page also. You see this often on websites where at the bottom of the page it's link back to the top. You got enough stuff that it scrolls all the way down to the bottom. You have to create an anchor in your text to be someplace that you can link back to. So you place an ID equals parameter within whatever tag you want to use as the anchor to jump to. The ID should be placed within quotation marks. We're going to see an example of this on the next page, so don't worry. Then in the href equals parameter of the A tag, place a pound sign before the ID and enclose it in quotation marks. That says whenever you get href equals quote pound something quote, it says find this anchor on the page that I'm on right now and jump back to that. Note, IDs have to be unique within a web page. You can't use the same ID twice. So here's an example. Here's my entire HTML file. You could copy and paste this into a file and execute it and get the same stuff that I'm going to show you in a second. What have I done here? On my H1 tag, inside the H1 tag itself, I put ID equals top. What I said is, this tag is the one that I'm going to make be an anchor that I'm going to give the name top to. Now that doesn't change how the H1 works. It's only if I reference it somewhere else. Now imagine a lot of text here. I only put one line here, but imagine I've got several paragraphs so that this scrolls off the bottom of the screen. And then when I get to the bottom, I want to do click here to go to the top of the page. Well, where am I going to? In my A tag, my href is # top. The # says, look for this anchor on my current page. So it'll check every tag to see if any of them have an ID of top. Yep, this is the one that does. So let's see what this looks like. Well, here's my H1 heading. Here's my paragraph that says imagine lots of text here, and you will have to use your imagination. Let's say this goes real far and I had to scroll to the bottom. Then when I clicked on here, it would scroll me right back up so that this was visible. Images. Not everything you see on a web page is text. It's called hypertext markup language, but you're used to seeing all sorts of images when you look at the World Wide Web. How do we do that? We use the image tag, the IMG tag, to insert an image onto your web page. Your image can either be located at some URL on the internet. Maybe you found an image on somebody else's website that you want to have visible on your screen, or it can be a file located in the same folder as your HTML code. Maybe you've got a JPEG file from a photo that you took, you know, a selfie that you took of you studying HTML for GOA. Yeah, I know, you guys do that all the time. You've got lots of selfies about GOA. Okay, here's the syntax. The image tag has several parameters in it. Source equals, and then in quotes you either put the file name or a fully qualified URL to somewhere else on the web. Alt equals alternate text. This is the text that a web reader will say if, say, there's somebody who's visually impaired that's using a web reader to look at something. Instead of seeing the nice picture that you took of your dog, it would be, maybe the alt text would be dog. Or if your browser is taking a long time loading a picture, this text will show up until the picture is loaded. Then you can have height equals and the number of pixels, or width equals and the number of pixels, or you can have both of them. Note, we don't have an end image tag. We do everything within just image. This whole tag will display this picture with this alternate text at this height and this width. The source and the alternate are required in HTML5. In older versions of HTML, the alt wasn't required, it was optional. In the most recent version of HTML, alt is required. The height and the width are optional. If you leave them both out, then however that JPEG or GIF file or bitmap or PNG file, whatever your image is, whatever size that is what's going to display. But you may want to set the height or the width. If you only specify one of them, then it'll be scaled to maintain the same aspect ratio. Let's say the original picture was 500 pixels by 200 pixels. And you decide to go height equals 100. That's 1/5 of what the original height was, so it'll make the width 1/5. You can specify just height, you can specify just width, and it'll keep the same aspect ratio. If you specify both of them and you're not careful, you can get something that looks like you're in a fun house of mirrors where something is stretched horizontally or vertically. We'll see a picture of that in a second. So here's an image example. Here's an image where the source is something that I found on the internet. I found a picture of a panda bear at this URL, big long URL. And I've given it an alt of cute image of a panda bear, and I said, make this at a height of 100. I didn't specify the width, I just said make it at a height of 100, regardless of how big the original JPEG was. And then I've got another picture. This is a photo taken a zillion years ago when I was 4 years old. And it's young Steve playing the piano. .jpeg. Notice I don't have this as a fully qualified URL, so it's going to look for this file name in whatever folder all of this HTML is in. The alternate text is piano player, and the height is 100. So what does this look like? I get the text for this paragraph, panda bear, and I get the image, 100 pixels high. Then Mr. Ingrassi is a 4-year-old playing piano. This image, 100 pixels high. Notice this image is wider than that one, but I said make it 100 pixels high. They both show up as the same height. Now, what if I do this and I say height equals 100 and width is 400 on the panda? And what if I say height is 400 and width is 100 on the piano player? Then I get things that are stretched horizontally, stretched vertically. That might be the effect you want, but I'm guessing that most of the time it isn't. So usually specifying either height or width is going to be what you want. Now, here's another useful tag for you. The iframe tag lets you embed something where another program, probably another website, is going to have some dynamic content on your page. Maybe that dynamic content is playing some audio. Maybe it is something like showing a YouTube video. You can use the iframe tag for that. We're not going to actually learn how to code the iframe tag because websites like YouTube give that code to you. It's called the embed code. And they give it to you, and you just grab it and copy and paste it into your own web page. So suppose you found a video that you liked on YouTube. I'm not showing a picture of the video, but this is part of the YouTube page. Right below the video, there's something that says Add to, Share, and More. If you click on Share, it gives you 3 tabs that you could pick, either to get a link to share the link to this video, to get the embed code, or to get the email. So when we want to get that iframe tag, we click on Share, then Embed, and then it's put right in here. You copy and paste that and put it into your web page. Here's an example. I've got embedding a YouTube video about a surprise kitty. And this part, from iframe to end iframe, I didn't have to learn how to write it. I just took it exactly from what YouTube gave me. Now, some things I don't want to change. I might decide I want to make the width or the height bigger. Remember, don't stretch it. Don't make one of them bigger and leave the other the same so that it gets stretched. Or you just take the defaults that YouTube gave you. Now, what does this look like? I get YouTube embedded right here at 420 pixels wide, 320 pixels high, and nobody has to know where to find this on YouTube. It automatically links. It already has the player. You just press play and it's a YouTube video. I use this all the time when I'm creating these videos for you on the Canvas website. So now you know enough to do assignment 5B. What you're going to do is build a page that describes a hobby or an interest of yours. Maybe you're a fencer or a gardener or a swimmer or somebody that likes to build robots or somebody who likes to debate or whatever. Pick a hobby or an interest of yours. On this page, you're going to describe that hobby somehow. You've got to include at least 2 images, at least 1 embedded YouTube video, at least 1 hyperlink from one place in your page to another one on the same page, at least 1 hyperlink to an external page, at least 1 level of headers, you could use more if you want, some bold text, some underlined text, some italic text. In other words, I want you to use all these tags that we've talked about to put together a nice page about something you're interested in. And then you're going to test that out and send it to me so that I can look at that page and see what you're interested in. We haven't learned everything about making things look pretty. So you're going to have all the stuff on the page. It may not yet look exactly like you like. And we'll work on styling our HTML in the lessons to come. Okay? Have at it. You've got enough to be dangerous now.